Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa, and this is Tracy.
Hi, everyone.
And we're from Gilda's Club, and we're so glad that we can all come together today and just learn a little bit, be together, enjoy each other, and celebrate a special holiday that we're going to talk about in a minute. If you're new to Gilda's Club or to our Facebook Live program, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. Or share the content. We love that too. We love to share at Gilda's Club. And if you're new to a grief or cancer journey and you'd like to get connected with our free support community, we would love to talk with you. You can just give us a call at 453-8300, or you can look on our website, gildasclubgr.org. We've got lots of information about how to get connected, or you can just leave us a message here. So if you also really enjoy this particular episode, please share it with whoever you'd like. Or if you have questions or thoughts, or you want to show us what you're doing, we would love to see that. So just send us that right here on the post, or you can email us too, and we'll get back to you on that. So my friend Tracy and we have come together today because we feel like it's really important to give a good view of everything that happens at this time of year. And we hear a lot about Christmas. We hear a lot about all of that kind of thing. And but we don't hear a lot about Kwanzaa. And so we wanted to take some time to talk about Kwanzaa. We have a great book, don't we, Tracy?
Yes, a very nice book.
Yeah. And it talks about what Kwanzaa is, and then it gives the story of Kwanzaa, which is just an incredible story. And I have to say, I don't know about you, Tracy, but the artwork in this book.
It is phenomenal. Yes. Yes.
And I think that must be, do you think that's block printing, how they did that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really just fabulous.
Beautiful colors and everything. Very rich.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. So I think we'll get started. We're going to read the book, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. And then we have a couple of different crafts, because we're a little bit overachievers sometimes in that area. Honestly, just really love to do crafts. So then we'll talk about that, and then and we'll be done. You ready, Miss Tracy?
Yes.
Great. So 7 Spools of Thread, a Kwanzaa story by Angela Shelf Medearis, and the illustrations, which you just really, I don't know, I would love to see how those happened, by Daniel Minter. You can read that trip, Miss Tracy.
Sticks in a bundle are unbreakable. That's an African proverb.
I like that, don't you?
Yes.
That teamwork. That's what we do at Gilda's Club. And that's how we run all of our groups, is by bundling everybody together, right?
Yes.
All right. 7 Spools of Thread was written especially for Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is a cultural holiday begun in America and celebrated by people of African descent all over the world. In 1966, Dr. Mulana Karinga, a college professor, created Kwanzaa, which means first fruits in Swahili. He based the holiday on the ancient African harvest celebrations and customs. Dr. Karinga felt that African Americans in his community needed a special time to help them take pride in their glorious past and plan for the future. Kwanzaa is celebrated from December 26th until January 1. It is not a religious holiday, nor one that honors a heroic person. My reading is interesting today. Instead, it is a time when people of African descent join together to honor the heritage and traditions of their ancestors. During Kwanzaa celebration, everybody pledges to work together to improve themselves and to make their community better, a better place to live. Kwanzaa is a celebration of the past, the present, and the future of African descent. Sorry, I said that wrong. The future of people of African descent. Dr. Karinga established special symbols for Kwanzaa, including fruits and vegetables, which stand for the harvest. During the days of Kwanzaa, 7 candles, 1 black, 3 red, and 3 green, are lighted. They stand for, Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles. Nguzo Saba are to be memorized, discussed, and acted upon during the 7 days of Kwanzaa and throughout the year. These are the Nguzo Saba. And I'm going to ask all of you a little grace and forgiveness because I may not be pronouncing some of these words right. And Miss Tracy, please jump in to help me if you feel like you want to, okay?
Okay.
So the first one is Umuja, unity, to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Kuji Kajo Go Lia. Kuji Ka Go Lia. Self-determination. To define ourselves, name ourselves, create ourselves, and speak for ourselves instead of being defined, named, created for, or spoken for by others.
Mhm.
Oh, I so love that so
I do
much.
too.
Yeah. Ujima. And I like saying that word, Ujima. Collective work and responsibility to build and maintain our community together and to make our sisters and brothers' problems our problems and to solve them together.
Mhm.
Ujamaa. Ujamaa. Cooperative economics to build and maintain our own stories, shops, and other businesses and profit from them together. Nia, purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness.
Mhm.
Kuumba, creativity. Ooh, I love that one too. To do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Oh, that's incredible.
I love that.
Yeah.
Imani.
Imani, thank you. Do you want to read that?
Yes, faith. To believe with all our heart in all our people, our parents, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. All of the principles of New Saba
Nguzo.
and
Yeah.
those are hidden in the 7 spools of thread. Can you find them?
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Yes. In a small African village in the country of Ghana, there lived an old man and his 7 sons. After the death of his wife, the old man became father and mother to the boys. The 7 brothers were handsome young men. Their skin was as smooth and dark as the finest mahogany wood. Their limbs were as straight and strong as warrior spears. But they were a disappointment to their father. From morning until night, the family's small home was filled with the sounds of the brothers quarreling.
Mhm. I love, oh, sorry, can we go back, Hannah? Sorry. So I just want to look at the picture again and just love the depiction of the village in the background and just to notice that this story starts out with grief,
Mhm.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that sometimes when we're grieving, especially within families, it can be troublesome, and often families start to quarrel with one another or have difficulty getting along.
And communicating, and it doesn't matter what culture it is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so thinking about that father who is in grief because his wife died and then having to deal with all of the conflict too, in addition to that. I was feeling for him when you were reading. Okay, Hannah, thank you. As soon as the sun brought forth a new day, the brothers began to argue. They argued all morning about how to tend the crops. They argued all afternoon about the weather. It's hot, said the middle son. No, a cool breeze is blowing, said the second son. They argued all evening about when to return home. It will be dark soon, said the youngest. The youngest said, let's finish this row and begin anew tomorrow. No, it's too early to stop, called the third son. Can't you see the sun is setting? Shouted the sixth son.
And so it would continue until the moon beamed down and the stars twinkled in the sky. At mealtime, the young men argued until the stew was cold and the fufu was hard. You gave him more than you gave me, whined the third son. I divided the food equally, said the father. I will starve with only this small portion on my plate, complained the youngest. If you don't want it, I'll eat it, said the oldest. He grabbed a handful of meat from his brother's plate. Stop being so greedy, said the youngest. And so it went on every night. It was often morning before the seven brothers finished dinner.
Wow, that's a lot of arguing, huh? One sad day, the old man died and was buried. At sunrise the next morning, the village chief called the brothers before him. Your father has left an inheritance, said the chief. The brothers whispered excitedly among themselves. I know my father left me everything because I am the oldest, said the oldest. I know my father left me everything because I am the youngest, said the youngest. He left me everything, said the middle son. I know I was his favorite. Eeh, said the second son, everything is mine. The brothers began shouting and shoving. Soon all seven were rolling on the ground, hitting and kicking each other. Stop that this instant, the chief shouted. The brothers stopped fighting. They shook the dust off their clothes and sat up before the chief, eyeing each other suspiciously.
Your father decreed that all of his property and possessions will be divided among you equally, said the chief. But first, by the time the moon rises tonight, you must learn how to make gold out of this spool of silk thread. If you do not, you will be turned out of your home as beggars. The oldest brother received blue thread, the next brother red thread, the next yellow. The middle son was given orange thread, the next green, the next black, and the youngest son was given white thread. For once the brothers were speechless. The chief spoke again. From this moment forward, you must not argue among yourselves or raise your hand in anger towards one another. If you do, your father's property and all his possessions will be divided equally among the poorest of the villagers. Go quickly. You have a little time. The brothers bowed to the chief and hurried away.
Task has been set. When the 7 Ashanti brothers arrived in their farm, something unusual happened. They sat side by side, from the oldest to the youngest, without saying anything unkind to each other. My brother, said the oldest after a while, let us shake hands and make peace among ourselves. Let us never argue or fight again, said the youngest brother. The brother placed their hands together and held each other tightly. For the first time in years, peace rested within the walls of their home. My brother, said the third son quietly, surely our father would not turn us into the world as beggars. I agree, said the middle son. I do not believe our father would have given us a task of turning thread into gold if it were impossible.
Could it be said, the oldest son, there might be small pieces of gold in this thread? The sun beamed hotly overhead. Yellow streams of light crept into the hut. Each brother held up his spool of thread. The beautiful colors sparkled in the sunlight, but there were no nuggets of gold in these spools. I'm afraid not, my brother, said the sixth son, but that was a good idea. Thank you, my brother, said the oldest.
Could it be, said the youngest, that by making something from this thread, we could earn a fortune in gold? Perhaps, said the oldest, we could make cloth out of this thread and sell it. I believe we can do it. That is a good plan, said the middle son, but we do not have enough of any one color to make a full bolt of cloth. What if, said the third son, we weave the thread together to make a cloth of many colors? But our people do not wear cloth like that, said the fifth son. We wear only cloth of one color. Maybe, said the second son, we could make a cloth that is so special that everyone will want to wear it. My brother, said the sixth son, we could finish faster if we could all work together. I know we can succeed, said the middle son. And the 7 Ashanti brothers went to work. Together they cut the wood to make a loom. The younger brothers held the pieces together while the older brothers assembled the loom.
They're working.
They really are. It's pretty cool.
It is. They took turns weaving cloth out of their spools of thread. They made a pattern of stripes and shapes that looked like the wings of birds. They used all the colors, blue, red, yellow, orange, green, black, and white. Soon the brothers had several pieces of beautiful multicolored cloth.
That is gorgeous.
Mhm.
When the cloth was finished, the 7 brothers took turns neatly folding the brightly colored fabric. Then they placed it into 7 baskets and put the baskets on their heads. The brothers formed a line from the oldest to the youngest and began the journey to the village. The sun slowly made a golden path across the sky. The brothers hurried down the long, dusty road as quickly as they could.
As soon as they entered the marketplace, the 7 Ashanti brothers called out, Come and buy the most wonderful cloth in the world. Come and buy the most wonderful cloth in the world. They unfolded a boat and held it up for all to see. The multicolored fabric glistened like a rainbow. A crowd gathered around the 7 Ashanti brothers. Oh, said one villager, I've never seen cloth so beautiful. Look at the unusual pattern. Ah, said another, this is the finest fabric in all the land. Feel the texture.
I keep thinking about how they said it was silk thread, and that must be so, I just can feel it, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
The brothers smiled proudly. Suddenly, a man dressed in a magnificent robes pushed his way to the front of the crowd. Everyone stepped back respectfully. It was the king's treasurer. He rubbed the cloth between the palms of his hands. He held it up to the sunlight. What a thing of beauty, he said, fingering the material. This cloth will make a wonderful gift for the king. I must have it all. The 7 brothers whispered together, cloth fit for a king, said the oldest, should be purchased at a price only a king could pay. It's yours for 1 bag of gold. Sold, said the king's treasurer. He untied the bag of gold and spilled out many pieces for the brothers. Smart guy.
The 7 Ashanti brothers ran out of the marketplace and back down the road to their village. A shining silver moon began to creep up in the sky, panting and dripping with sweat. The brothers threw themselves before the chief hut. Oh, chief, said the oldest, we have turned the thread into gold. The chief came out of his hut and sat upon a stool. The oldest brother poured the gold out into the ground. Have you argued or fought today? Asked the chief. No, my chief, said the youngest. We have been too busy working together to argue or fight. Then they learned the lesson their father sought to teach, said the chief. All that he had is now yours. The older brother smiled happily. The younger son looked sad. What about the poor people in the village, he asked. We received an inheritance, but what will they do?
Thinking outside his own family into the community. I love that. Perhaps, said the oldest, we could teach them how to turn thread into gold. The chief smiled. You have learned your lesson very well. The 7 Ashanti brothers taught their people carefully. The village became famous for its beautiful multicolored cloth, and the villagers prospered.
From that day until this, the 7 Ashanti brothers have worked together farming the land, and they have worked together peacefully in honor of their father.
Weaving cloth. So we're not going to read all of this because we'll talk about it. But so thank you. We're done with the book, but we'll post that picture so that you guys can see. Oh, I forgot I had put on the end.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll post those 2 pages so that you guys can follow those directions if you'd like to. So Tracy, what'd you think of that book?
Oh, I thought it was a very good book of grief and how people work together to manage grief.
Yeah. And I think it really showed those 7 principles. that they talked about in the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool.
I did.
And yeah, I feel like I've seen those 7 principles at work here in our community, especially at Gilda's Club.
Mhm.
Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yes. And I think as a community, we need to focus on those 7 principles, not
Yeah.
just during December and January, but collectively throughout the year.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's, yeah, wisely said. So this cloth is incredible. It's gorgeous.
It is. I actually have some actual kente cloth. I've
Ah,
traveled to Ghana, and this is the cloth. And they make
oh,
it into so many beautiful things. You can't really see very close up, but it's intricately woven together.
oh, that is gorgeous.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes,
Oh, did you get a chance to see any textile
I did.
places? You
I
did.
did.
And how is that? They must have huge looms, do they?
They do. They do. And they do it out. Some of them do it outside. And it is just very intricate work. You would just have to see it to believe it.
Ah, very.
Yes.
So they still hand, is it machines or some of them are
Yeah.
also, yeah,
Some mostly hand, but they use the machine for the spools of thread.
interesting.
Mhm.
Wow. And so are villages still doing that or is that more like cities?
Villages. Villages.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, how cool to preserve that historical,
Mhm. And
um, yeah,
and it's mostly done in Kumasi, which is the capital of Ghana.
okay.
And Ashanti is within that region.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
So is Ashanti is a particular village? Is that the name? For some reason, I was thinking that was the 7 brothers' last name, but it was the tribe or the
It's the
region.
tribe. The tribe in the region. Mhm.
Okay. Ah,
Yeah.
very cool. Ah, so cool. I love it. I love it. So rich and full of just, oh, what do I want to say?
Traditional
Words,
culture.
yeah, and words to live by,
Mhm.
words
Mhm.
to really guiding principles for all of life,
Mhm.
which are really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, in that same way, you too could do some weaving at home. And I'm going to show you 2 ways that you could do this. One, so I'm going to apologize a little. I get a little over enthusiastic about things sometimes. And I do, in my family, there's a history. My father is an artist and we love to weave. And so we often had looms at our house. And so I kind of made a loom based on everything that was the directions in the book. And so you too can do this. And again, I say, just an old piece of wood I found in the closet. Yes, we do just have an old piece of wood sitting around in our closet. So, and then I just have, honestly, all of this yarn came from Gilda's Club because I keep it here to do crafts like this, you know. And so, and I just had straws in the cupboard, and these are just paper straws that I cut in half. And then I measured out some spots, and you can almost see here, I just used pencil and a ruler, but you don't have to. You can use your finger, knuckle apart, however you want to do it. I did it by 1/2 inch. And then these are just nails that you put stuff on the walls with. And I just put them in there. So then it was not easy to get this yarn inside of these straws, I'll tell you that. And so I had to use a skewer. I tried a chopstick, a skewer to get them threaded onto there. But I did. And then when I had them threaded, I looped them And this is just a loop on the string, and then I just put it over the nail and then stretched them down. So I have 6 of those. And then I made another ball of thread on just like what they had in their hands in the book. And in the center of this is another straw. And so I just tied it to that and then wrapped it around. And so basically what you do is you just go over and under, and then this is hard to hold and show you guys at the same time. And then you take these straws and you push them up like this, and then it pushes them together. So then you have the weave. So I basically, it's a little bit hard sometimes to keep these all in order, but since it's over this last one, I'd go, when I'm going back the other way, I'd go under that one and then over, under, over, under.
In Ghana, they're still using the traditional techniques.
Oh, they are?
Hmm?
Is it like this?
It's like that, but on a much larger scale.
Whew, I don't even know if I can handle a larger scale here. It takes a lot of skill. So then you just push it up and then you just keep weaving. So it's a lot of fun. It's a little bit like a meditation because you're doing it. You have to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. And I made a number of mistakes in there, but you can't really tell. And that's the beauty also about weaving, is it's kind of forgiving sometimes. So if you don't have all of those things at home, there is another way you can do it. And that is if you just have paper, and then I just used colored pencils. And what I did, because at Gilda's Club, we always like to think about things and have the application of them be meaningful to you. And I'm sure that the Ashanti brothers were thinking about these kinds of things when they were weaving their first cloth, but that these represent, what I did is decided to represent just my feelings about the holidays, my feelings about what's going on right now. And I just randomly picked a color and just started drawing. And I drew in a way that felt right about that feeling. But you could write about this story is about grief, really. It's about grief, it's about triumph, it's about learning, it's about community, it's about forgiveness. So another way that we've done it at Gilda's is that this bottom part was about my difficulties, my grief, about the people I've had that have died in my life. You can make it if you're on a cancer journey or if you've had other struggles in your life, and just give yourself permission to let yourself be creative. If you have markers at home, just like the regular Crayola markers, you can draw on a piece of paper and then drop a little bit of water on it, and it'll make it like watercolor. But you can do it however you want. And then the second piece of paper, the one that we're going to weave across this way, you could think about what ways did you triumph? What ways did you work together with somebody else? What ways did you, what else, Miss Tracy?
What other did you use for coping, and what has worked in the past?
Yeah. And maybe even what you want to work in the future, right? So some hope for the future. I love that you just said the past, because it struck that. Or you could even write your story on the bottom one, write it out, write words, write letters, write names, whatever, and then write your story of triumph. So then you take it and you take the paper and you fold it just like this. This is the bottom paper. And then you take a pair of scissors that I have around here, and you just cut it. And you want to cut it so that it doesn't go all the way through to the top. So it stops right there. So then when you open, you got a bunch of just cut pieces. And you would do that all the way down. And that would be your bottom paper here. That would be this one I cut all the way through, but just ignore that. But so this one, see how it's all connected up there. And then you just tape it to whatever backing you want, whatever looks interesting to you. And then the next paper, you would cut those all the way in strips. And they don't have to be straight strips. They don't have to be the same thickness. You can get creative. You can make them like on this one, I made them all wavy. You can make them however you want to make them. They don't have to be perfect by any means, unless you want them to be like that. And then you weave them in over and under, over and under, and over and under. So you start with just one, you push it up to the top, and then the next one you do the opposite. So then, and then the next one you go back to the way you did the first one. So you just keep doing that opposite, and then it'll weave. And what we like to say at Gilda's Club is that then this weaves the tapestry of your life, this tapestry of your story, of your story of how triumph and strife come together sometimes, and they make a beautiful cloth that is our lives.
Yes.
What do you think, Miss Tracy?
I think you said that perfectly, Melissa, and I just really enjoyed reading the book, getting the message, receiving the message, and sharing the message with our Facebook friends.
Yeah, I agree. So we challenge all of you to embody those 7 principles, to live out the Kwanzaa story in your life. Yes. And every day, whether you celebrate Kwanzaa or not, those are really just a good way to live is by those principles. So, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for today. We did want to mention that we are going to be closed for the holiday starting tomorrow, which is Thursday. And then we'll reopen on Monday, and we'll be open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week with a very altered schedule. And then we're closed again next week, Thursday, Friday through the first Monday of January. So if you are in a group or there's a group that meets with Gilda's Club, please check our schedule on our website, gildasclubgr.org, to see when your group might be meeting or might not be meeting. There are some day shifts. And for those people who come to groups on Wednesday evenings for the grief tonight, just a reminder that it's completely virtual tonight. So we'll see all of you on in our virtual clubhouse. And I
just wanted to go over the 7 principles one more time.
Great idea.
Unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that so much. Yes. And for all of you out there, if you celebrate Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa, and I hope it goes well for you and that you're able to connect and be together safely with family and friends while you're celebrating. And other than that, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. I think next week we do have a little bit on volunteering. We have a new volunteer coordinator, supervisor. I'm not sure what the title is, but he'll be with us next week. Yes. And other than that, we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Take care.